HQ Spotlight, another year, another starting quarterback for the Oklahoma Sooners. Just in the past couple of years, the Sooners, well, they've gone from Dillon Gabriel to Jackson Arnold, and now Washington State transfer John Mateer will be under center for the Sooners. There is big hype for the redshirt junior in Norman, Oklahoma, as the Sooners enter another year in the SEC. Didn't go so well the first time, let's be honest. But what about the rest of the country? Are they hyped up on the Sooners as well? Let's welcome in Tom Green, who is going to be the mediator, and we have Tom Fornelli, who is going to, we'll see if you say nice things about my team, Tom. Let's start with John Mateer. Fornelli, you want to go first? You want to give us your little prediction for this guy? Can he change our offense?
I will start by saying that I like John Mateer a lot. I really enjoyed watching him play at Washington State last year in that offense. But as far as whether or not he's going to be able to change anything for the Sooners' fortunes this year, I don't know, because to be blunt, I feel like Jackson Arnold was a bit scapegoated last season for the struggles that Oklahoma had on offense. I felt like the offensive line was a far bigger problem, as was the fact that most of that wide receiver corps spent the entire season injured. They were very one-dimensional because of it, and Arnold struggled in his first year as a starter. And when I go back to Mateer, I think he has the familiarity with the offense, obviously, as he's coming with his offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle. But if you go back and watch how he performed last year, he played 2 games against Power 4 competition, and they weren't exactly his best games. He finished them with a completion percentage of 49%. He had 2 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Most of his damage was done against other Group of 5 teams in the Mountain West. As the opponents got tougher, his numbers went down, and obviously facing SEC opponents on a weekly basis, it's going to be a lot different, but at the same time, he's going to be surrounded by a better cast, so I would go in with optimism. I just don't know if John Mateer alone will be able to fix what was wrong with Oklahoma's offense.
Yeah, it definitely won't be just, will John Mateer be the difference for this offense? Obviously, they need a little bit better injury luck at wide receiver and across the offensive line. But like you said, he's going to be surrounded by better talent. And I think that familiarity in Ben Arbuckle's system is really going to pay dividends for him. He's in his 3rd year in the system. He knows it really well. He has a lot of freedom in the system, too, to kind of check in and out of plays. And I think that's going to go a long way with him. I mean, he spent the spring basically facilitating the teaching of this offense and implementation of it with Ben Arbuckle. So we'll see how it works out. But, he was super productive last year. They had a top 10 offense, albeit against not the strongest schedule. But I think just his skill set and his familiarity with Ben Arbuckle certainly puts them in a better situation at quarterback than they were in last year when they were kind of carouseling back and forth between Jackson Arnold and Michael Hawkins Jr. And again, it wasn't all just on Jackson Arnold, and it wasn't all on Michael Hawkins. When he struggled, there was the injuries that we talked about. Seth Luttrell got fired midway through the season. It wasn't an ideal situation for anyone to really have success. So I think again that familiarity and stability there that John Mateer has with Ben Arbuckle is going to help out Oklahoma's offense.
Tom, because you're Tom. The other guy is Fornelli now because he's already ticked me off. I don't think he can fix what's wrong with Oklahoma's offense. Look, let's go to both of you mentioned, though, their offensive line. It was an Achilles heel for this team. They were riddled with injuries on that O-line, and they were serious injuries, too. The good news for this Oklahoma Sooners, they do have some returning starters on this O-line here. Can we see a turnaround, Tom, the nice one, on this O-line?
Yeah, I think there's optimism for the offense or the offensive line to be much better than it was last year because, again, it can't get much worse. They started 9 different combinations across, 13 games. They kind of leaned really heavily in the transfer portal last year and really just did not get the production that they expected out of a lot of those guys. The good news now is that they should probably only be starting 1 new transfer up front this season, and that's probably going to be Western Carolina transfer Derek Simmons over at right tackle. But they have a lot of other guys that are in their 2nd, 3rd, 4th year in this offense, and working with Bill Bedenbaugh, who should be a little bit more mature up front, a little bit better developed. There are some promising things that guys like Heath Ozida and Logan Howland, who started 8 and 6 games on the left side of that line, really showed during the second half of the season. And if they can continue to build on that, I think Oklahoma's going to have a better foundation. But I mean, you look at the numbers last year, they were 119th in pass blocking efficiency among FBS teams. They gave up more sacks than anybody in the country. It just was not a good, cohesive season for that offensive line last year.
Sorry, I got caught on camera with a really ugly face. Look, we don't have to bring up the stats. It's a new year. We'll wipe the slate clean. Thomas Fornelli. We'll call you Thomas. How about that from now on? I did not come up with this next topic. Defensive line could be the best and deepest in the SEC. What say you?
Yeah, if there is a position area or group on this team heading into the year that I have no worries about whatsoever, it is the Oklahoma defensive line, because I do think that this is a very good unit. And we saw last year, this is a team that finished 6th in pressure rate, 8th in sack rate. They were able to get after the quarterback. Most of those guys are back this year. They've brought in some transfer help as well to just bring in a little depth. And we've just seen throughout his history as a coach, as a coordinator, and as a head coach now at Oklahoma, Brent Venables always has a very good, very disruptive defensive line. That will be the case again in 2025. And this is a team to me that if the Sooners are going to improve and they're going to have a much better year than they did last year in the SEC particularly, it's going to be led by this defensive line causing a lot of havoc and keeping them in games and maybe even winning them a game or two by forcing some turnovers.
Okay, this is where our producer comes into play. I have a schedule prediction here and it says Tom. So, James? Which Tom has a schedule prediction. Tom Fornelli has a schedule prediction here. I have permission from Chip Patterson. If you tick me off, I can't call you Chip on air. Give us your schedule prediction for the Sooners.
Well, you're about to be calling me Chip any second now, because as I go through this schedule, I've got the Sooners finishing the year 7-5, which is an improvement on last year. But I don't think it's the kind. But it's not the kind of improvement anybody is really hoping for if you are a Sooner fan, because this is a team that's meant to compete for, conference titles and playoff berths and national titles. Not a team that's just trying to compete for bowl eligibility in the SEC. But this is a difficult schedule. You get Texas at the neutral site. Texas might be the best team in the country. It's going to hard to imagine them winning that game. And then you've got road losses against a South Carolina team that just narrowly missed the playoff, Tennessee on the road, Alabama on the road. I have them winning LSU just to give some good vibes at the end of the year, but still, 7-5. I don't know if that's going to be enough to save Brent Venables. We'll see.
Okay. When can I go to, OU Texas again and show my face?
3 years.
That was a long pause.
Oh, it's a really long.
Oh my gosh.
Guys, we appreciate it. I will be still sporting the crimson and cream no matter what. Of course, we put Texas on the front there.
They're trolling
you're just rolling, just put it in my face. Best team in the country. They are really good. Kudos to Longhorns and Stark for what they've been able to do. If you would like everything to know in the world of college football, just go to 247sports.com.